Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Let me get all my stuff here set up. What do we have? Hi, Francis. Francis Novak. Hi. So I'm back in the gallery, which is why I'm not doing a. Hi, and James. Everyone's joining in. Okay, I'm just going to start promoting everyone to panelists here. Because today I'd really just like to talk with everybody and see how things are going. There we go. I'm going to gallery view. Mr. D.
Mr. Sanders,
How are you?
it's warm here. I'm fine.
It's
How are
not
you?
warm here. Not at all. Well, actually, it's okay.
How did the opening of the gallery go?
You know what you need to get, man? You need to get a light because you're always sitting, the face is completely dark. It's hilarious.
Let me do it this way then.
Spy film or something. Wow. There he is.
There we go.
Yeah,
The background is not as interesting, but you can see my bright, shiny face better.
yeah, well, we've seen the background a number of times, so
I'm a photographer. It's all about the lighting, isn't it?
yeah. I'm an art dealer. It's all about the sellability.
Yeah. Okay.
So how is
Hi,
everybody?
Julian. We are here too.
Hi, Jan.
Hi.
Hi.
Kim is here as well. Oh, you can see.
Yes, I can. I see pictures in the background. I have pictures in the background too. But you guys have seen all of this, so I have to move myself. I'm going to put myself someplace else. Put myself over here. Look at other pictures.
Oh, beautiful.
This is from the war cabinet. This is Russian art. Or I don't know if it was even art or propaganda. There's no propaganda which my dad purchased. This is my dad. This piece of I can't see that. The advantage of owning the gallery that I'm allowed to do this.
Wow.
So my dad wanted to put this in the show because he said this represents for him a picture of the worst image of what Germany tried to represent after the war. Like rocket frog, blah, blah, blah. That's what we have. This one I've posted quite often. It's been her list. I posted quite often from on Facebook and Instagram. And this was it's actually an interesting conversation. My dad and I were talking about this. He said the whole idea behind this picture, why he wanted to have it in there, was because it showed kind of the tentative nature of how Germans got back into a regular social life after the Second World War ended. And this is really meaningful for him, which is why he picked this particular picture. What else do we have? And here we have this. Which, by Otto Steiner. It's a vintage print. Been in this frame forever. It's actually nicely framed too. I didn't frame this particular picture. Just floated on blackboard. I've been doing that a lot recently though, is mounting pictures on blackboard as opposed to white, because some pictures just, I think, resonate better that way. Yeah. Like if there were a white border around this, it would be weird. Anyways, what else do we have? There's another attendant here. Who else is joining in? Invite them into the conversation. What else do we have? There's gonna be paint hanging back up on the wall. This is a picture by Louis Farley. Remember correctly, I believe this is Louis Farley. Check my list to make sure. It's a portrait of or picture of Robert and Mary Frank, which just to make sure. Yep, Robert and Mary Frank in San Geronimo at the San Geronimo Festival in New York City, 1950. Yeah. We got a bunch of Farley pictures. Is the light good enough for this? Can you see it well?
A lot of reflections.
Yeah. It's hard to get rid of those. This is not museum's glass. Yeah.
I lived about 4 blocks from that festival. It was still going into the, well, it's still going these days.
Which reminds me, you have to tell us about what you used to do in New York, which I know the story of. I visited you often there, but I don't know if anyone else knows how illustrious your career was.
Well,
Hang this back up here. Oh, got that. This is, of course, a known entity, right?
yeah.
My dad was doing negative restoration for Andre back in the early 70s, early mid 70s. And, you know, everyone knows about the Polaroids that Katej had been doing on his windowsill. Those are kind of a known entity. The first pictures that he took with the SX70, he took sitting across the table with my dad. And the pictures of him, that infamous picture where he's sitting there like, I mean, he's like this, right? That picture was taken by my dad, because we have the rest of the pictures from that shoot. I showed them in Paris a couple years ago. It's my neighbor. The guy with the restaurant next door who's going home. He's closed for the day.
So was the opening of the gallery successful? I mean, did people show up? How'd that go?
So far, 2 or 3 people have been here. That's about it.
And the rest of the city, what's happening?
Oh, I'll go to the window. I'll show you. You know, it's a bit more lively, but not as much as would be nice.
Well, not everything's open yet, right?
Bigger stores are closed.
Okay.
And there's some traffic, but that's about it. You know, it's. I mean, the thing is, statistically speaking. See, now I'm going to do what you did. See if I can find this.
Yeah.
You just talk to my forehead. Statistically, Cologne has what, like 350 active COVID-19 cases. So it's really, really well contained here. I mean, you know, I don't want to like say all safe and just go out and party, but I think our Germanness was really useful, because like Germany just locked down. Yeah. And it worked, apparently. And I think that's a good thing. You know, we oh, that's kind of cool. You can see the well, no, you can't, but I can. I can see the signage the right way around, which is kind of funny. So that helped a lot, to keep the numbers down and keep them contained. And we Germans as a society tend to be very disciplined, except for Carnival. And even though, Cologne as a Carnival city didn't get hit that hard, like, everyone's kind of shaking their heads. We don't understand how this didn't, just go completely sideways, but apparently it didn't, which is a good thing, and, we're some wood to knock on. I think it's, people are now trying to figure out how do we go forward from here? And that's the big issue. And I think opening galleries, opening stores, and the restaurants, I'm hoping will open at some time relatively soon. That I think is all going to be really important.
Yeah, it took a while for everybody to get used to being inside, and now it's going to take some time for people to get used to being outside or not fearful. Although there's going to be some residual fear for some time.
Yeah, I imagine so. It's I heard about one of the fairs that was planned, I think in Berlin for September, which has already been canceled. I'm gonna move again. I'll show you guys something else. I'll just take a chair and just make this a performance. Put myself here. Yeah, so where was I?
About starting up again.
Oh, right, yeah. So I think it's important that that businesses open up again, that people get back out to it. I think one of the biggest things that we may see from this is people are going to have a new understanding of what they really need.
Yeah.
And as painful as that's going to be for a lot of people, particularly people who were selling to a desire much more than a need, that those people, a lot of them will disappear, because there's a lot of economics which is just not going to work anymore. But whatever. I mean, it's always been this way. The people who invested heavily in saddle factories at the advent of the automobile didn't make a good investment at the time, because no one ended up needing saddles.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way things go, I guess. Well, that's a horribly fatalistic way of looking at it, right? I see another attendee is here. Who's that? I'm just going to invite everyone in here to be a panelist. If anyone wants to join in the conversation, turn on your camera, turn on your mic, and join in. And I'll keep the line open. And as long as we don't get too rowdy, it should be good. There they are again. Yeah, so what else could I show you? Leon Levinstein. Let's look at Leon Levinstein. There.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, this was my dad's music corner. We had a portrait of Lisette Modell up there, but I sold it. And so I put this Louis Farrer up here. It's one of my favorite Farrer pictures. From 1975, super late in his lifetime. It's a great, great picture. Well, I think so anyway. There. It's really weird to try and sensitive. This is by John Cohen.
Beautiful.
Who passed away last year. John Cohen was actually the artist that I showed for my very first exhibition when I was in Bonn. That was fun. It was a great show. What else do we have here that I can show you? Oh, that's sold. I just haven't taken it off the wall yet.
Wow.
It's from the surrealist apartment upstairs. It's the first time I actually got a chance to hang pictures up there like that.
Yeah.
When I built this space, the entire room is a room in a room with wood beams and particle board, and then drywall on top of the particle board. So I can hang really, really heavy things on the walls, like sculptures. I could do installation work. I can, I've got a video artist in the U.S. who works with cameras that are on robotic wires
Wow.
that move back and forth. And at some point, I was thinking about doing a show in here of that work, where I could hang stuff, from up there, and then, have the wires coming straight through the gallery. So you end up having to kind of, walk through this, make it almost more like a maze. I did that with Rosalind Solomon too. The exhibition we did called Carnival, Carnival 1980. The portfolio that she had taken in Brazil, primarily. What else we have? Showed the snake guy, one of my favorites. August, photographed by Schargesheimer.
Mm-hmm.
And another Schargesheimer. I'm a big fan of Schargesheimer. That's my family as we were on the airplane to the United States in 1975.
Mit Selbstauslöser.
That's me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where's the snake picture? I didn't see the snake picture.
Snake picture, I'll show you.
Oh yeah, you showed it today afternoon.
Yeah.
Aubrey Bodine. It's one of those cases where actually it's an interesting topic, how to deal with the inheritance of the arts. Because, well, clearly in my family, I'm the fourth generation now dealing with Sanders' work. And I've seen a number of different families go through the multi-generation process of dealing with a creative legacy, which is actually much more challenging, I think, than most. Well, maybe people realize it. It doesn't. I don't think anyone takes that idea lightly. It's and the problem ends up being that you don't really have an opportunity to make wrong decisions. There's a luxury to being an artist that you can, in your process of creating work, you have the freedom to make mistakes and to go with them. That's kind of, you're allowed, because as an artist, there's that liberty. It's part of what makes the process and the work so engaging for the audience that's looking at it. As an heir to that, you end up, well, not always, but often getting stuck in kind of like a freeze, like a snapshot of what the famous artist was.
Mm-hmm.
And people are then looking to somehow, it becomes a much less malleable thing. And the idea that generations that follow can have influence and can expand on the work tends to not be looked at very favorably. In any kind of traditional handcraft company, if you have multiple generations doing the same skill or the same craft, there tends to be this understanding that it gets better with the generations.
Yeah.
Like the particularly tile layers, like a tile layer who's in the third generation will have knowledge about tiles that people learning at a trade school now will never have access to, because of the way that tile making and the way that tile laying and the glues and the understructures and all that has changed dramatically over the last 200 years. Even, I mean, before then, there were also changes, but the developments during the Industrial Revolution were huge. So, and I know this because the guy who laid our tiles, he's the guy who really invested a lot in understanding the old technology. And so he was, when we did our renovation, he brought stuff to the game, which was extraordinary. But in the arts, it tends to, like, imagine if Jean-Michel Basquiat had a son who then took his work and then continued to paint on it. You see the point I'm making? It's like, it would be considered complete heresy, like, to the extent where it's like, oh my God, you can't, what are you doing? It's a masterpiece. You can't touch that. He finished it. He's dead. And I'm not saying that every artist should do this, but we have, or in my opinion, I think it would be prudent to understand that that there is a disconnection between the work and the artist who created it, and things develop into newer things. They expand beyond the influence realm of what the artist has done. And this doesn't mean that it should always happen, but the fact that it can happen means that there is a situation where that can happen. And in my family, when I look at it, particularly people of the 20th century, which, everyone says, yeah, this is August Sander's greatest project. It's not August Sander's greatest project. It's August Sander and Gunther Sander and Gerd Sander's greatest project. And my dad was the one who finally finished it. And it's, one of the points that becomes really challenging, because how do you deal with that dynamic of something not, it's not a simple thing you can put into a simple jar, put on your shelf with a label on it, and that's it.
Yeah.
It expands in its complexity. And, I think it's one of the things that really needs to be thought about. This goes back to the topic that I spoke about before, that the audience becomes important for work, for the arts, that work that's not seen has effectively no impact. Doesn't mean it's worthless, it just means it has no impact. And I think the expanding view of what the arts are and what influences it is something that we really should be looking at. And, what was it? Sid Kaplan, one of the guys who printed for Robert Frank, for Louis Farr, did his own pictures. He's a fantastic darkroom guy. Or what's the name? Neil Selkirk was the guy who was printing for Diane Arbus.
Yeah. That's
an artistic process. All of us know that as photographers, the process of making the object. Or Damien Hirst and his, color blobs, like his circle, he didn't paint those himself. Most of those are produced by somebody. And so there is always this influence. And I think that maybe that's something that needs to be considered in how we look at the arts, to get away from this idea that, there's this holy kind of, holy of holies inside of the artistic object, which we must necessarily assume to only have been, touched by the artists themselves. And if anybody else has ever accidentally lost a sock in that room, then, oh my God, it's over. You can't touch it, it's ruined. And I don't think it is. What do I do when I frame pictures? I'm changing the representation. The way I present the room, the way I curate has everything to do with how you perceive what you're seeing in my space.
But let me add that a photograph or a piece of art doesn't have any meaning until it has an audience. That just the process of making it doesn't create what you're talking about, a possibility of a legacy, or possibility of a different understanding than what was intended when it was made. I mean, August Sanders, when he did his portraits, he wasn't thinking about, I don't know what he was thinking about, but what was he thinking about? It probably was not what it has become today.
Yeah. The the impact that work has had has been phenomenal, and I think that there's a lot of projection onto Sanders' work, particularly, but a number of other artists' work as well, who have become defining artists inside of the history of the medium, is connected to what people have read into the work. So, like, I mean, the formality is the simplest thing. And of course, with August Sander, the formality becomes the most obvious thing. There's a type of photograph that reminds people of August Sander because it's like a visual language. I don't think that that's the most important part of the work, but it is. It is what it is, and it's there. So yeah, and you're right. I wandered a bit from the legacy issue onto the production question in general. In my particular case, what I always keep coming back to is the fact that in the fourth generation, like, what am I bringing to the conversation? How is my role perceived as a person working with this material? How's my authority perceived in my understanding of it and in projecting that and being a voice for it? And how can I do what I do to the best interest of that body of work? And then through that same manner of dealing with a single body of work, I become more involved with how I deal with everybody else's work that I work with, like Sean's, like Jory's, like Alfredo, like Oliver, like Michael Summeroff. These are all people who I work with, Isabella, who I believe in. I see their work and I believe in it. And maybe the heritage of working with Sanders' work and the importance of it has shown me that it's really possible that work becomes influential in the long term. And if I'm doing my due diligence to the work, if I'm being respectful and honest and faithful to the work, even insofar as I'm changing it in some degree, which with Sanders' work I am because of the way I present it, then I think that that's okay. It's just, I wanted to point out that there is really a challenge to dealing with such an important body of work in Sanders' case, or a known entity of that scale. It's, people, I often get say, oh, wow, you're so lucky, you're the great grandson of August Sander and you get to, you have access to all these pictures and you get to do all this. And it's like, everyone thinks like the pictures like land on the wall all by themselves. And it's all so very easy and simple. And it's just like, it tells you, like, the pictures are sitting in the drawer saying, all right, I want to hang next to this guy, right? And that's not the case. The reason that the work has grown is in part due to the extraordinary quality of the pictures themselves. And this will be the case for any artist's work that stands the test of time. And it has also very much to do with the people who were caretakers of it, the galleries and the heirs in our particular case, being now 5 generations. So, amen. So James, tell me, tech, how you gonna solve that problem?
Which one? You had a list of them.
You need to be able to present, which means you need. You have internet, yeah, right?
Yeah.
You could dial in on your computer without a laptop and your phone at the same time.
Okay.
And then use your phone for visuals and voice, and your screen share for showing the pictures.
All right.
Just an idea.
Oh, you mean in terms of me presenting my stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's I took pictures of my pictures so that I have that to show, which is a little neater and clearer than just taking a cell phone camera up to prints on the wall. So I would say I'm a formal kind of guy, working large format with a lot of precision. So it's like this need to be precise is there, sort of built into how I visualize showing you what I have. So who would have thought that web cameras are sold out? It's like, really, I don't have a web camera, so I'm go online. I think I can go down to the nearest my Best Buy and get one. Well, no, they don't have any.
Yeah, it's because everything has one built in now.
Yeah, well, but my desktop doesn't.
Yeah.
And the screen is too small on this on my laptop here to really do anything significant.
Well, we've got time. You know, the gallery is open again now, and the stores in general are opening up. So I'm hoping that, I mean, I'll just be here every day. Hoping that somebody comes in and, you know, wants to get out of their house and see something.
Well, things aren't open here in Miami, so I'll be here every day too.
Well, we can do a test run, just the two of us.
Okay.
Separate Zoom call.
Yeah, when I get the
Webcam. Yeah.
Web.
Actually, I ordered and had delivered today. It's at home. A 360-degree virtual reality camera.
Wow.
Video camera.
Which one?
What is it called? Like
There's one that goes with software so that you can do the walkthrough pictures, and then you have the ability to post that image online and you can walk through. Is that the one? I mean, a lot of museums and galleries are using that.
There's a number of them.
Yeah.
What I got is more an action cam. It's a camera that's that you can mount on your helmet.
Yeah.
Like you see 360-degree the ski videos,
Yeah.
stuff like that, or water skiing. It's that camera. And the reason I bought that is, first off, because my son does crazy, like he's a mountain biker, but he rides down flights of stairs and things like that. So I thought it'd be fun for him to use at some point. And it's also small enough that I can stick it in my pocket. And one idea I had is if I can get that connected to Zoom, then I can do virtual walkthroughs where I can walk through the gallery and be speaking to somebody live, and people who are watching can then be doing this in the background while I'm talking, which is interesting because then I don't have to worry about focusing the camera someplace for the person to see. I can just walk around with the camera on, and you can look at whatever the hell you want to look at. That's kind of the idea. So
Cool idea.
And I'm hoping it'll give people an opportunity to come in. And the other thing we want to do, there's a company called Matterport, which they have, it's actually made for realtors primarily, where you can use the camera to create a virtual space, matterport.com. And they also have hotspots in the videos. So what we're going to be doing is the current exhibition will have one of those 360 views with the information about the artworks in the video.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's a real neat process.
Yeah, I was looking at it today. You know, I wish the graphics were not quite as obnoxious, because Like with this exhibition, I have 130 pictures. How the hell am I going to have 130 of those stupid dots, which are like huge, on the wall in here, in the virtual space? So I have to figure out how to deal with that.
Yeah.
But it's a different issue.
Like it was designed for real estate, and it's being adapted by museums and galleries. I have a friend in New York that did one just before we closed down and all of that. The only thing, she wasn't a photographer. Just doing every 5 feet, I would suggest doing much closer than that. Gives a smoother walkthrough and more detail and the ability to be face on, square onto an object.
Yeah.
But it's
Excuse me, boss.
and they my telephone's telling me I have a text message.
Well, I'm probably going to be using some kind of like gurney or something. Use a tripod, put the camera on a tripod on a gurney, and then I can roll it around and I can make marks or whatever, so that I always have the same spacing for every exhibition, so that they get a sort of homogeneous look to them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, oh, see, mosquitoes, that's it, that's showing on here. Maybe I'll go inside. Yeah, but the technology is neat. I don't know, you have to go on their server and you're obligated to do all of their things and all of that. Isn't there a downside for you?
Oh, there is, but the technology that they're using is based on Google's virtual reality, their cardboard framework.
Yeah, it's much better though than the Google. I saw a comparison, and like with the Google stuff, if you click on a wall, you go through a wall into the next room if there's one there. This one won't do that. You have to go around and all of that, so you can go up to a wall.
Yeah.
So it's much better for this application.
I think so too. It looks very promising, and the idea is that we can have interactive exhibition spaces for the current show, and then the archive, we just keep a 360 video walkthrough, which we put in the same place on this homepage, and then you can, by doing that, we can collect virtual exhibition histories.
Yeah.
Which I think could be really fun, going back, I mean, not now, but like in 2 or 3 years, going back into those spaces and seeing the pictures on the wall. That could be a really nice experience.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that, because I'm working on it, and hopefully I'll be
But once you have the camera, it's real easy. It's real quick and easy to do. I mean, you can do it within a couple, 3 or 4 hours. Well, adding all the metadata to each image is the time-consuming part.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm really not looking forward to.
Yeah.
Could be a major pain. We'll see.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, I'm back in the gallery. Like I said, it's the first show from downstairs in a while. I am still in the process of translating the 3rd radio lecture. And as soon as I have it translated and ready for presentation, then I will post that up. And otherwise, I will be back on Thursday from the gallery.
All right.
So thanks for showing up here. Somebody, who was this? Steve Giovinco writes, thank you so much. This is fantastic to chat and ruminate about photography. Steve from New York. So you're welcome, Steve. And for all the people watching on YouTube and Facebook and Vimeo or wherever else people are, join us on Zoom so you can be part of our conversation. Also, we're going to end up being like you remember those guys from the balcony in the Muppets?
Yeah.
That's you guys. That's good. Yeah, that will be our job. We'll be the Muppets guys of photography. Anyways,
Thank you, Julian.
it's my pleasure. Take care, everybody. It's good to see everyone again, all my regulars, and I'll see you hopefully on Thursday.
Yep.
Right.
Bye.